We're very fortunate. Such a nice day, no? It was. I heard it was going to rain, but so far so good. So it's Krishna's mercy. Krishna's mercy. Or in English we say God's blessings, God's mercy. Yeah. So this is called a chariot festival, because we pull the chariot through the streets. In this case, Copenhagen. In many streets of the world, we have this festival. And the idea is that our consciousness will become changed by this process of pulling the cart and looking at the forms of the Lord, chanting the Lord's names, and hearing about Krishna, taking the prasadam. The whole idea is to change our consciousness. Of course, we do this when we go to the bar, and when we take some drugs, or when we do anything actually. If we do sport, watch the TV, our consciousness is changed according to our focus. This is a common experience. You go swimming, consciousness is changed. You go to a certain restaurant, your consciousness is changed. Go out with a certain boyfriend or girlfriend. Anyway, your consciousness is a reflection of what the body is doing in this temporary world. So, the idea of yoga, there's many different kinds of yoga. Yoga means to connect with the Supreme. Also to connect with ourselves. When I was a boy, I'm from England, I suppose I was a special case, but I was always asking my parents, what's the point? What's the point of life? This was an idea which is just obsessing me. And I don't know whether, I'm sure it's common to most human beings, but it got me very strongly. And my father generally said something like, well, you pass your exam, and you pass your exam, you get good grades, then you get a good job, and then you get married, you settle down, have a family, and that's it, That's what it's all about. And, I wasn't really convinced by this, because I could see that, this was self-perpetuating. My father never asked, what's the point? Now I'm asking what's the point, and he's saying the same thing. And I didn't think, well, he'd got to the bottom of it. And one day I asked my mother. My mother was doing the washing up at the washing sink in the kitchen. I was born in Birmingham. I said, Mommy, where do we come from? Did your children ever ask you this question? Mommy, where do we come from? And you know what? My mother went red in the face. She was really embarrassed. And I thought, this is funny. I'm her child, and she's really embarrassed with my question. And she said, oh, when Mommy and Daddy kiss, when Mommy and Daddy kiss, that's where I come from. I thought, this is strange. It doesn't work out. So, and I think many people, they have this, many children also, they have very deep questions to ask about a consciousness. What am I? You know, our consciousness is a reflection of what's going on around us. But who am I? What am I? This fundamental question. And actually we're not being encouraged to ask this question. What am I doing in this world? Can I have my accordion, please? Pass over my accordion. I wrote a little song about this. I'll just sing one line because it's related to Vedic culture and this festival. And this is not a traditional Indian instrument, actually, but Prabhupada encouraged us to use everything in yoga in connection with Krishna. You may be a footballer, you may be a cricketer, you may be a whatever you are, you may be a businessman, street sweeper, housewife. You can do everything for Krishna. Another mic? You don't have another mic, please? Another mic? Let's stick it there. Just stick it there for the moment. It's just a short excerpt, just to make some variety. Living in the city of 9 gates, wondering what to do. 2 eyes, 2 ears and 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, 1 anus and 1 genital. Living in the city of 9 gates, wondering what to do. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? My life is a story of failure, but still I'm not a fool. I'm still asking the questions they couldn't answer at school. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Everybody. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Living in the city of 9 gates, wondering what to do. 2 eyes, 2 ears and 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, 1 anus and 1 genital. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? So this is a fundamental question. Who am I? What am I supposed to do? And in our modern educational system, this is not talked about. This is a very serious problem. But our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, he started this institution all over the world to answer this question, so to help us to answer this question for ourselves. Not that he's forcing us into something which is artificial. Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. It springs directly from the spiritual platform. Srila Prabhupada, he said about this Maha Mantra which we're chanting, this transcendental vibration is a sublime method for reviving our Krishna consciousness. You can hear the chanting in the distance. It's so nice. It's dancing and singing on the streets. It's a method for reviving our original, deep, esoteric, if you like, our original me. What is me? Who am I? Hands up those of us once in their life, or sometimes. Who am I? What am I? What am I really? You know. So this Krishna consciousness is a way to discover ourselves in a communal yoga. It's like now we have a group of people We're all sitting together. We're quite like-minded. Some of us interested in Indian things, interested in yoga, some interested in self-realization, some interested in vegetarian food, dance, music. Or some people are just curious, they're looking. So, in this way, we purify our consciousness from the external world and we look inwards by this process of bhakti yoga. It's very nice. Prabhupada says, this transcendental vibration is a sublime method for reviving our original Krishna consciousness. Krishna means God. It's not that God is something like Christian, Hindu, Muslim. It's not a rubber stamp. God is not just a rubber stamp. Religion is not actually a rubber stamp. But say I'm Christian, I'm Muslim. I was born in a Christian family, and I was dissatisfied actually with the Christianity that I was taught at school and when I was a child. But I very much liked Lord Jesus. I could see, well, he's a person, he's really convinced that there is a supreme being. He called his Father. He was 100% convinced, so convinced that he was doing his service of his Father. He's willing to be killed, sacrificed his life. Apparently sacrificed his life. Because we know that the soul is eternal. The real self is different from this body. The body is temporary, but the real self is permanent. It's like Jesus said, if you gain this whole world, even if I own the whole of Copenhagen, but I lose my soul, I lose my consciousness of my spiritual identity. And what's the point? In Vedic terms, if I don't have developed consciousness, in next life I could become an animal. I could become a fly, a fish in my next life. According to the consciousness I develop now, the laws of karma or reincarnation, they're all explained in Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita is like a handbook of yoga. This is called Bhagavad Gita Somdener. Somdener. It's in your local language, in Danish. So it's an amazing book. It explains that, this devotee Arjuna is completely confused. He forgotten his spiritual identity. So he turns to Krishna as his spiritual master. And Krishna explains that he's not this body. That actually he's not this body, but he's changing his consciousness according to the change of his body. Because his body is getting older, he thinks he's getting older. And because his body is becoming middle-aged, he thinks he's middle-aged. Because his body's getting old, he thinks he's old. But actually, he's not changing. He's still he's still the person who's observing this body. This is common sense. And then Krishna says that just like we change our clothes, we're changing our bodies. And in the Bible also, this is intimated. So that, it says John the Baptist was Elijah, previous life, and there's other indications. But I believe that Emperor Justinian removed reincarnation from the Bible in the Church Synod of 546 in Constantinople. He removed the teachings of reincarnation from the Bible at that time. He doctored it. So the real spiritual knowledge which we're getting now from Christianity is not 100% accurate. It's too much abbreviated. So it's not a science anymore. So Bhagavad Gita, as it is the same knowledge. That's eternal knowledge, truth, eternal truth, which is behind all faiths. But it's in a pure form, because it's coming in a line of masters, disciplic succession from time immemorial. This is called Guru Parampara. Our spiritual master Prabhupada, he's presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is. And he's the one that started this Rath Yatra festival in the West. I'll show you a picture. We don't have a good picture here. Somewhere. Oh, here. This is Srila Prabhupada. He's our founder of Hare Krishna. He's our main spiritual master. And he's bringing us in contact with a line of spiritual knowledge coming from millions of years. In fact, it says that Bhagavad Gita, this knowledge, Krishna says, I spoke this knowledge to the sun god approximately 120 million years ago. This may seem fantastic, but when we understand the nature of the soul cannot be burned, the soul cannot be dried, the soul cannot be cut to pieces, the soul has no beginning, the soul has no end. I have no beginning, I have no end. These bodies are just like dresses. I'm changing my dresses. On Monday I wear a white dress, on Tuesday I wear blue pants, on Wednesday I wear, cricket gear. We don't have cricket here in Denmark, I don't think. What do you play here? Football? Football gear on Wednesday. And this way we change our dress. So in the Bhagavad Gita is teaching about reincarnation. And this helps us to understand our real original consciousness. So this process of Bhakti Yoga is very natural. It's a cleansing process. Just like I see in Copenhagen, streets are very clean. They have street sweepers. Houses are very neat and tidy. People have some money here. It's not like India. You see piles of garbage everywhere. Things are quite dirty. Not so much money to pay the street sweepers and so on. So there's cleaning process in Copenhagen. But where is the process, educational institution, for cleaning the heart of these false identities which we are accumulating lifetime after lifetime? So this festival was part of the Sankirtan movement started by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You see this picture in Bhagavad Gita? If you get one of these Bhagavad Gitas today, then if you don't mind, if you want, I can sign it for you. I can ruin it for you, if you're interested. But there's a nice picture of Lord Chaitanya. And if you look carefully on the Rath Yatra card, you'll see two figures. They're a bit hidden. I think they should be more prominent. But they started this worldwide movement 500 years ago in Bengal, India. Lord Chaitanya was born. And his mission was to start a worldwide movement, educational movement, to revive people's renaissance, spiritual renaissance, so that people could understand themselves easily. They didn't have to go to college. They didn't have to pay a lot of money to go to college and learn a technical education and so on to understand who I am. No. He's teaching the simple process of spiritual realization through dancing and singing and hearing about Krishna. So who is Krishna? It's something like in a car accident. Sometimes a guy gets a car accident and boom, his head is smashed. And when he wakes up in hospital, he can't remember who he is. Isn't it? And his beautiful wife comes, Joey, do you remember me? Do you remember me? And the children come, Daddy, I'm Johnny. Can you remember me? And father's going, he can't remember anything, right? It's called amnesia. Just like in a dream. At night, we have some crazy dream. And everybody has it. Sometimes we're flying, sometimes we're lying in bed, of course, in Copenhagen, We got, you know, and we're very safe and sound with our wife and kids. But do you know, at night, you may have a most beautiful wife and beautiful children or beautiful husband. But when you dream, you completely forget them. You may be with another wife, another husband. Every night it's nonsense. Maybe you're going off somewhere else. And then, some horrible experience, and all of a sudden you wake up. Oh, thank goodness, that was a bad dream. I'm glad I've woken up. So all of us are experiencing this. This life is full of misery. It's actually, it's a suffering. You have to admit it. Who wants to die here? Anybody wants to die? Does anyone want to die? Hands up. Nobody. Anybody want diseases? Nobody. Anybody want old age? Nobody. So what are we doing about it? We don't want all these things. We don't actually want to be born. You know. Because birth means all these horrible things. We can't get out of it because we think we're this body. We identify with this body, which is being born, it's having diseases, it's growing old, and it's dying. So this is a hellish situation. We're in death row. We're being forced to die. And it seems pointless. What's the point of all this? Why I have to die? Yeah. So, you know, this is a radical question. Now we have a human form of life. We can ask this question. We're not just animals. We saw a demonstration when we were coming. What was it called? Friends of the Dogs. What was that? Dog liberation. Dog racism. I thought this was a very good, quite a step in the right direction. What does dog racism mean? Huh? Dog racism. Does that mean that we're cruel to dogs? And I thought, what about the cows? We're eating the cows. Isn't this genocide? Unless we know who is a Danish citizen. Do we know who is Danish? Why the flies are not Danish? Why the dogs are not Danish? Why the cows are not Danish? Why the trees are not Danish? They are Danish. They're people. They have a birth. They grow. They have childhood. They reproduce. They grow old and they die just like us. And they also feel pain. You know, scientists have done experiments with trees. They react if they're cut. A plant reacts. They don't like being cut. You see. So these teachings of Bhagavad Gita are very essential, especially for the leaders of Denmark. This Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Krishna for the leaders of society. Some of you may be leaders. You may be, I don't know what you do in your spare time or in your professional duties, but I'm sure some of you are leaders, you're managers, or you're leaders of the household. But it's meant for the kings of human society so that people can live their normal life and operate a cleansing process for their consciousness so they don't have to take another birth in this material world again. You see? According to Bhagavad Gita, you may get your MA, PhD, but in your next life, if you're lucky you get a human life, you won't bring your PhD with you. You'll have to go to college again. If you're born in Denmark and you take another birth in Denmark, again you have to go to college. Or you may be born in China, maybe born in America. You'll have to start again in another edition of life, in another form. So this is very frustrating. We're not gaining anything. But Bhagavad Gita is saying that through bhakti or devotional service, you're gaining something which you could carry on to the next life. It's a permanent asset. Even if you gain 1% of Krishna consciousness or God consciousness, or in other words, love of Krishna, that love will carry you into a human form in your next life, and if you've gained 2%, 10% of love of Krishna, devotion, you will start from that 10% and you can grow and grow and grow, increase and increase, until the time when you will qualify to enter the planets where Krishna lives. Now in Krishna's planet, there's no birth or death or old age. It's a higher standard of living. Even if you go to America or any, high standard of living country, you still have to grow old and die. But there are planets in this universe where you can live much longer period of life. In some planets like Brahmaloka, one day equals 4 billion years of our time. You can live that long, but still you have to die. But according to Bhagavad Gita, there is a place where you don't have to die. There is a planet, there are many planets, Krishna's planet, where there's no birth, old age and death. So who would like to live in such a planet? Who would like to have a body which will never die? This is the idea of Krishna consciousness. It's not Hindu, it's not Christian, it's not Muslim. It's actually a scientific process that we can take up. And this handbook, Bhagavad Gita, is well worth getting, because it's something your kids can benefit from. If a kid asks you, your children ask you, "Mommy, where do I come from?" You can give them a proper answer. Not like my father. My father, I asked, "What's the point of life?" Then you can give a proper answer to your children. In fact, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he taught that everybody should become guru. Guru means spiritual master. We want many spiritual masters to spread throughout Denmark, to spread throughout the world. I'm feeling pretty lonely out here. They call me a spiritual master. But what am I doing? I'm just telling them what Krishna said. It's not difficult. Krishna says always, Krishna's saying, Jagannath, this is Krishna, on the right hand side is Krishna. Jagannath. He spoke this book, Bhagavad Gita. It's the same person. On the right is his brother Balaram, and he's just saying what Krishna says, and Subhadra is saying the same thing as Krishna. He's the original personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that in Sanskrit, Mata parataram nanyat kinchitasti dhananjaya maya savamidam protam sutre manigana iva. Krishna says, everything rests upon me. There is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So the origin of everything is a person, a supreme person. There's a, intelligence. The intelligent design movement. There's a movement, a very nice book by Lalita Nath. You'll see on the bookshelves. It has got many articles by the intelligent design movement. It's called Rethinking Darwinism. What they're teaching us at school is Darwin's theory of evolution. But actually there's many holes in this Darwin's theory of evolution. It's not substantiated by the facts. Any of the facts, archaeological, genetical, and so on. It's not supported by the facts. It's a belief. It's not a true science. But Krishna is teaching a real science. It's a science which comes from higher authority. The knowledge which we get at college and university is full of holes, because we're likely to make mistakes. We're likely to cheat. Our senses are imperfect.